Schmitt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for being here today. One of the issues that of a particular interest to me related to big tech is the relationship between big tech and the federal government in a expansive censorship regime that's been uncovered. I happen to know in the Missouri versus Biden lawsuit. Quite shocking, the coordination, the collusion that took place to censor Americans under the guise of combating misinformation or disinformation. And I hope that as you serve on the FTC, that you'll keep that, and know that you will, the Constitution in mind and protecting people's right to free speech. The temptation for government actors to be the decider on these things is a powerful drug, and I think needs to be combated with restraint. And I hope that you'll keep that in mind. The second issue that very important to me in your role is I'm a dad of 3 kids, 2 teenage daughters. So it's, you know, these issues related to social media are personal, as they are, I know, to you all too. And we have legislation. We're still trying to grapple with this in the committee and on the floor, what that looks like. But the FTC plays a very important role in this. And I know that's sort of front and center. It's been the subject of a few questions already. So as you approach those, I know that you'll weigh all of the various considerations and the authority that you have. Ms. Holyoke, it's good to see you again. In your testimony, you mentioned the importance of protecting our kids online. Could you just touch on, as a commissioner, how you view that role in protecting kids?
Absolutely. As some of the senators mentioned before, there's the COPPA statutes and likely coming COPPA legislation, which I would, if confirmed and enacted, would vigorously enforce. In addition, there's the COPPA rule, and that just recently there's been under review at the FTC, and I do like what the commissioners have said about that in some of the statements. Particularly, I know that Commissioner Bedoya talked about the importance with respect to privacy and education technology. So when kids are all online doing their homework, and they should not have to give up all their data and all their privacy just to do their homework. So I think that's a very, very important issue. But I will continue to work with the FTC, and I would happy to work with all of the committee members in future legislation relating to children's privacy.
Yeah, and I guess changing gears a little bit. Of course, there was, I guess it's 2 years ago now, or a year and a half ago now, the West Virginia versus EPA case. Could you just talk about how that changes how you look at FTC action, and if you agree that certainly narrows the scope of what can be done and what's considered, you know, sort of narrowing Chevron?
Oh, certainly, happy to. In the West Virginia versus EPA case, this is the case that involved major questions doctrine. This is a statutory tool of interpretation. So what the court does is they look at the statute and trying to decide, well, they first identify, is there some sort of impact that has vast economic and significant impact from whatever this agency action is? And then we're looking at the tool, the statutory tool and authorization that is the basis of the action, and whether Congress clearly gave the agency that authority to act. So that is something at the forefront of our minds now, entering into, if I'm confirmed as an agency, understanding the authorization, the authorities that Congress gave us, and making sure we stay in those bounds.
Mr. Ferguson, I don't have a lot of time, but in my previous role, we're also involved in some of these litigation against some of the big tech giants and their monopolistic behaviors. But I do, with the remaining time, I do want to ask your opinion, you know, with the ongoing litigation related to the government's coordination with big tech. Could you talk about how important the right of free speech is, and what role does the FTC have in protecting the freedom of expression?
Yes, Senator Schmitt. Obviously, the right to free speech is the foremost among the rights in the Bill of Rights, and I think it's that way for a reason. And I also think that you know, what your litigation, or the litigation you launched while you were Attorney General, reveals the importance of policing monopolies. It is a lot easier for the government to control the conduct of the individual citizen if it only has to coerce a couple market participants and they can control people downstream. And I think that is why the aggregation of private power is potentially so dangerous, because if the government can coordinate with only a few actors, it is a lot easier to control the rest of us. And I think that the litigation that your state launched revealed how this can potentially work in real time. And I think that is part of why the FTC's mission to protect the economy from monopolies is important, both for the functioning of the economy, but also for the preservation of individual liberty.